Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time stopping by. Today we are going to be doing a monthly deck review video. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts and reviews on all the decks that I have been working with over the past month, specifically throughout the month of November. It's a new series that I started on the channel. Oh gosh, when did I start it? Last month. I started it last month. Before I jump in, just a quick moment of appreciation for the cloth that is on my table. If you don't already know, all of my altar cloths, tablecloths, reading cloths, tarot bags, all of them, with one exception that I'm actually going to show you today, have all been made by my wife, Peggy. So she has an Etsy shop. It is currently on vacation mode. It's on pause because we are dealing with a postal strike in our country. So probably the shop will be reopening at the beginning of the year. Keep an eye out for that. Just even if the strike were to end right away, there'd be backlog. It's a whole thing. Anyway, in the meantime, she's been sewing up beautiful things with this new range of fabric that she got, as well as other stuff. Oh my gosh, is this not breathtaking though? This is so beautiful, and this glows in the dark. And I'll try to get a picture that I can pop in the video, but I don't know if I'll get a chance. Either way, these mushrooms glow in the dark. The butterfly glows in the dark. It's, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Little moon phase glows in the dark. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Anyways, I've been treated to some treats from this new batch of fabric, and this is one of them. So when you see this sort of like beautiful, gorgeous night garden stuff showing up on my channel, that's where it came from. So when Peggy's shop reopens at the beginning of the year, she will have some goodies made from this fabric line, so keep an eye out for that. But anyways, without further ado, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about the decks that I worked with in November in categories, beginning with the decks that were used in my monthly member readings live stream that I do. So members in my channel membership at Magical Unicorn and Up tiers, we do a live stream every month where I give readings. We did a special event though in November. What month is it? Yeah, in November. We did a special event where Peggy did like 90% of the readings with Sassy Dragons Tarot, because of course this was on Kickstarter and we were funding this project. So it was a really fun special event. Peggy and I were both on stream for the entire time. And unless somebody requested me and my Unicorn's Journey Tarot, this is a bag that Peggy did not make. And I'm sorry, I don't have the bag maker handy. This was a gift, but it has a cute little unicorn charm. This is what I keep my Unicorn's Journey Tarot in. But anyways, if somebody requested me do a reading with unicorns specifically, or just in general, I was either reading with unicorns if it was requested, or with the classic version of Sassy Dragon, and Peggy was doing readings with both of these. Now, obviously, I can't review my own, the deck I made. I can just say that I made my perfect dream deck, so of course it reads like a perfect dream deck for me. But Peggy's deck is, gosh, this was so fun to read with. First of all, I've been using, aside from the member readings, I've actually been using the Not Safe for Work version a lot. In fact, this tends to live with me in my bag. I have my sets when I'm at home, they're next to me, because I just really love being able to pull and get a really quick, instant message without any effort. This is also going to be, what I'm probably going to do is actually put my classic copy in my bedtime deck rotation, and then keep my Not Safe for Work in the living room with my Unicorn's Journey Tarot full size. I keep a mini Unicorn's Journey Tarot in my bag. But anyways, the Not Safe for Work read great. It was really fun to see Peggy read with this deck specifically, and so we did end up also doing a public live stream where we did the same thing, and Peggy read, I read when requested, same kind of deal. But actually, now that I think of it, I think I got my details mixed up, because I think for member readings, it was Peggy exclusively. I'm pretty sure for member readings, it was Peggy exclusively doing all the reading. And then for our public live stream we did was when I was available and I hopped on with these two. I think I read with the Not Safe for Work once. But anyways, if you don't already know, this deck was successfully funded on Kickstarter, as was this one, in like 2 minutes. It was crazy. It funded immediately during the launch party that we had on the channel. And at the time you're viewing this, the campaign will be over and decks are already going to be in production. So very, very exciting. And I know that because at the time I'm filming this, the campaign is not quite over and I've already placed my production order, and I'm very proud of myself. So things are going to be well underway and on schedule, ideally early, which is going to be amazing. But anyways, these decks just read beautifully. So again, this is kind of ending up being a plug, and that wasn't my intention, but this was what we used for member readings. So I wanted to mention that. And then, of course, also Unicorn's Journey got some play during the public live stream where we did readings. And guys, like, I also managed in November to get my Etsy shop launched. So Unicorn's Journey Tarot is now available to purchase on my Etsy shop in the standard or the mini. And those of you who backed Sassy Dragons will also be able to, if you can't already, it's coming, well, you'll be able to add on Unicorn's Journey to your pledges if you'd like, and have it ship at the same time your Sassy Dragon ships if you want to wait a little bit. But either way, it's all coming from the same place. It's just a matter of whether you want Unicorn's Journey immediately or you want to wait until your Sassy Dragon ships. But regardless, reading with this is always a dream because, of course, I created it so that it would be a dream deck, and I absolutely love working with it. I love using this deck for self-worth work. Obviously, I am always going to be biased over the things that I create or have a part in creating, so always going to be biased about these, but I did work with them and I did have a great time working with them in November, so I wanted to share. Typically, during my monthly member readings, there's actually a set of like about 5 decks that I pull in, usually 1 Oracle, 4 tarot decks, including 1 pip deck. So that's sort of my normal formula for member readings, but obviously we broke from that during the Kickstarter campaign. So that is why it's a little different than it usually is. But yeah, anyways, enough about that. Let's get into the next category, which will be, let's talk about the things I was using while gaming. Well, no. Okay, time for our next category. Let me just talk about the only thing that's really changed in my gaming decks. So if you want to see all the things I've been using in my gaming, go check last month's video. But this month I also added this to the list. So this is my Inside Editions Disney Villains Tarot with Guidebook. Oh my gosh. This is perfect because when Dawn Michelle and I are playing Baldur's Gate 3, we just started a new run. It's on Dawn's second channel, her gaming channel called Amberlore Plays. We do stream the game. And we just started a new game where we are each playing an evil queen. She's playing Maleficent, and I am playing the evil queen, who I've also named Regina, because Regina from Once Upon a Time is also the evil queen from Snow White. But we kind of modeled our characters after that. We're doing a full evil run. And so I've been using this deck along with that game. And it's so fun. That game is so much fun. Obviously, we've just started it, and there's always that like sort of new game energy when you just start a new run, or at least for us. And I actually genuinely love this deck. I would say of all the Inside Edition decks, this one and the Buffy deck are the ones that I love the most. Buffy is my top tier. But I've used this deck a lot, actually, because I obviously am using it now with BG3, but I also use it a lot when I'm playing Disney Dreamlight Valley. It's super fun with that game. So it often ends up living in the living room because that's where I do most of my gaming, and keep it handy for both of those. And it's just, I don't know, I really like it. I think that for Inside Editions, Buffy has the least lazy pips. This one doesn't seem to have lazy pips at all. Most of the minor arcana that are numbered still have, like there's our evil queen, still have a lot going on in them. They're not just the pips, which I think is really great. Like that's one of the most minimalist ones, and so is this. And other than that, most of them have stuff going on, as you can see, or they have characters on them, which I think is just fabulous. So it's a really fun deck. I think they've recently come out with a different one that is like a Funko Pop version of the Disney villains. I have no interest in that because I already like this one. But it's really good. The guidebook is decent. You get a good amount of information for every card. So yeah, I like this one. And it was my first, I would say, pleasant surprise from the Inside Editions decks that have come out. I think they did a good job with this one. I think they did a great job with the Buffy deck. And yeah, so this has been really fun. So I've been using that. That's been living in the living room. And because I can't remember if I talked about dice in my last monthly deck review, I do want to briefly talk about this. This is my dungeon box. This was gifted to me by Dawn, and it opens up so you have like, sorry, my dog is like literally building a nest below me. We'll just let her finish that. This is where I keep the dice that I use mostly for divination. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Dawn, Michelle, and I created a divination with dice, a dice casting system, essentially using Dungeons and Dragon dice or tabletop role-playing dice. And these are my 2 like fancy sets of dice. So this set here is petrified wood and is honestly what I use the most for divination when I'm at home. So I pull all these out and I will cast these into the tray and I will read them. These are petrified wood and I love them so much. I've shown them on the channel before. And then these ones are dichroic glass and they have a unicorn in the center of the D20. They're a lot harder to read, but they actually are much easier to read on this black. So I really, when I'm going to roll these, I always enjoy rolling them in here. And other than that, this is just a very satisfying thing. So if I'm going to do a dice only reading, I come to this set most of the time. I also have a dice bag that Peggy made me that has a bunch of sets of dice in it. And that I keep in my bag for when I'm doing readings on the go, and I'll cast different colored sets on top of whatever cards I happen to be working with for my regular pulls. I'll try to remember to bring that dice bag and show y'all when I do my December deck reviews, because that's the one that I actually use. Those dice I use the most. But what I think is so great about this is it's got my fancy dice in it. And then I have two little things in here that I keep in here. This one here is a unicorn charm that was sent to me by my bestie, Danny. And this is a little sea turtle that was sent to me by my bestie, Dawn. So my two besties each sent me something that perfectly fits in this little spot right here. So I just keep both of those in there, and it all lives together, and it makes me really happy. So it's like my bestie dice box, I guess. I don't know, but it makes me really happy. So this is where I keep, this is like I'm going to sit down and do a dice reading box. And I don't see myself changing this out. Like, these are just both very, very special sets of dice. I don't feel the need to replace either one of these. And I love that they live here. I love that they both can live in the same box. It's perfect. So this is probably not going to keep showing up again unless I change something about it, but I wanted to show y'all. Unless I did show you last month and I forgot, which is very on brand for me, but there you go. So that covers monthly member readings and gaming and dice. Let's do a quick update on my bedtime routine. So I showed last month what I was using, and a couple of those things are still in use, but these are the things that have changed since the last one. First of all, I've switched to the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle, and I will typically work with this deck until Yule. So in my nightly bedtime routine, I will pull one card from this deck and reflect on it and or journal on it. This was the first in the Seasons of the Witch series, and I think for a lot of people, it's like the one, but I love them all. This one is special, though, because it was the first one, and I think it kind of is what caused us all to fall in love with the series, those of us who like all of them, that is. And I think for a lot of us, it just, like, so on point. These messages feel extra sort of less on the nose. So, for example, this apples one says, "To taste, one must swallow it whole, and beneath the satin flame hides drowning waters." So it's less literal, more like poetry to be interpreted, and less like a literal message. And I think that's so perfect for the energy of the Samhain deck. I love the darkness. I love the shadows. I love the themes in this deck. They feel very appropriate for this time of year, with the deepening shadows outside, the shortening of the days, all of that. This just feels like it really meets this energy on its face, and it's just great for tapping into the energy of this time of year. So that is my Seasons of the Witch Samhain, and that is part of my bedtime routine now. And then I also traded out, I put away Phases and Forests, which I've been using since it came in, and instead pulled in the Dreamgate Oracle. This is by Danielle Noel, and it is a mass market deck, and this is beautiful. You'll see why this is now in my rotation, but I love this. First of all, the layout, this is my favorite, arguably my favorite Danielle Noel deck as far as the layout, how it's set up goes, because as far as oracles anyway, because you have this beautiful artwork. Obviously, Danielle Noel has stunning artwork. You have the title of the card. So here it's Earthwalk. And then beneath that, you have reorientation and collective wisdom and natural healing. So there's three sort of themes you can explore within the broader context of Earthwalk. So that makes it very readable as a bedtime oracle deck to pull. So pulling one card from here, and then when you get into the guidebook, where's Earthwalk? Here it is. You have a list of keywords. You have a sort of affirmation. I see the interconnectedness of all life. I am walking myself home each day. I am of the earth. Then you have a write-up. Then you have a message. And at the end, you have two journal prompts. Now, this is so great for my personal bedtime routine because I often will journal. And I was using the question or prompt on the Phases and Forests to sort of give myself some room to do a little journaling. Or if I'm not pulling out my journal, I'll do a little thinking on these questions. So for Earthwalk, it's how can I connect more with my own Earthwalk, and or what is my earthly spirit yearning for at this time? And then I can kind of explore that idea before I go to bed. So this has been really, really wonderful to temporarily replace Phases and Forests, and it does with this theme feel really good for this time of year. We're moving into sort of winter time, and there's something sort of like slow and contemplative about this. It feels a little less, Phases and Forests feels a little bit more like the more lively times of year, and this feels a lot more like the contemplative, quieter, darker part of the year. So this is working really beautifully at this time of the year for me as part of my bedtime practice, again, to kind of stand in for Phases and Forests. So that's that. And it works beautifully, especially because I'm also pulling a tarot card from my Moonchild Tarot. This is the Shadow Edition. I do have both, but the other edition's kind of in storage for me right now. Just like the Oracle, in the guidebook of the Moonchild, you also have an affirmation and 2 journal prompts. So for example, this is the 10 of Cups. No, is it the Page of Cups? Yeah, no, this is the 10 of Cups. And the inquiry, how can I connect with the deeper insights of my soul? Or how can I simplify my life and trust my inner child? And so there's, again, more contemplation and or journaling that I can do with that. And it just makes it a really lovely connecting practice. And it looks beautiful next to the Dreamgate Oracle #1. I think these are a perfect pair, this particular edition especially. But it looks beautiful next to both, interestingly enough. But I love this. Now, it does break the sort of rules of my bedtime practice in that there's no message right on the card, which is what I typically prefer for a bedtime pull. But because I'm working with Dreamgate Oracle and this, I feel like I'm able to have this like really lovely bedtime card experience, and it really grounds and settles my energy before I sleep. So I really, really, really enjoy working with this. So this is working really super well, and I'm glad I pulled it in. This was my first time sort of breaking the model that I've been using for bedtime pulls, and especially paired with Dreamgate, it's just been working super well. Okay, that's it for bedtime changes since the last one of these. Let's go through the decks that I worked with week on week throughout the month of November. So I started off the week working with the Gentle Tarot and the Sylvankind Oracle together as a pair. So let's talk about these. These actually worked really, really, really well together. So if you haven't seen it, the Sylvankind Oracle is this deck. It's by Greg White. It's so amazing. I love this deck so much. And it actually, by the way, looks incredible next to Unicorn's Journey Tarot. I got that idea from Krista at Crystal Chronicles. But for this particular combo, I wanted to work with the Gentle Tarot Linen Edition. Transitioning into the month of November. Like November for me is a month of sort of turning in. And let's just zoom in a bit so you can really see. I just thought these worked really, really well together. The Sylvankind has a ton of cards, wonderful themes. I love the layout. It's also a very earth conscious, planet loving kind of deck. So the energy of this works so beautifully with the Gentle Tarot. And I really enjoyed working with the Linen Edition of the Gentle Tarot so much, more than I thought I would. Like, I mean, I knew I would love it because it's linen, but I thought I would miss the thicker cardstock of the Indie Edition. And I just really, man, I really loved working with the linen. But I also really especially loved the conversation that happened between these two decks. It was a wonderful pairing, and I'd never paired them together before. But I was like, I want something that feels comforting. I want something that feels nurturing and a little bit slow for November. November, I had a lot going on, and it was a stressful month. And I wanted this anchoring, soft energy to hold me and carry me through that time period. And this was so good. And I will say, Sylvankind, as you can probably see, doesn't shy away from more difficult themes when they make sense. And I love that. It doesn't feel quite so only positive. But the themes, man, and the colors, visually, I think these decks look great together. But more importantly, I think thematically, they are just so aligned that it was just a wonderful experience. And obviously, I needed to do something while I'm waiting for my copy of My Friend Fire to come in, because hello, oh my gosh, so excited about that. So that was a really great pairing. So this is what I used for the first week of November, and it was such a great experience. Now, I will also point out both of these decks have additional guidebooks you can get. So Sylvankind comes like this. I don't know if it comes with a digital version. I'm not sure. I got the extra book for it. Gentle Tarot, the Indie Edition, comes with a physical guidebook. I don't think the Linen Edition does, but double check. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. I have this from my Indie Edition, but I do also have the full-size copy of the guidebook for Gentle Tarot, this really big expanded book. And this is just a lovely experience to work with, as well as the big Sylvankind Oracle guidebook. And oh my gosh, it's so lovely. And it came with like a really lovely bookmark. So good. So yeah, this is a really, really great one to work with. I will say that this deck reads very, very well with or without the guidebook. Like the keywords on it are really, really good. I don't have to reach for this. And so I only reached for these books occasionally in that first week. Mostly I used the little guidebook here and otherwise just read them as I read them on the table. And I think they both work super well that way. And I mean, yeah, I just had a great experience with both of them. So that's the Gentle Tarot Linen and the Sylvan Kind. That was my first week of November. And then for the second week of November, I pulled in, I decided to make most of November a 3 Trees Tarot month, which has been so fun. So I started it off with the Oak, Ash, and Thorn. Oh, I just realized I did it kind of in order. But anyways, Oak, Ash, and Thorn with the Thistledown Oracle, which is the 3 Trees Tarot Oracle that they did. So this is Stephanie and Adam, who are behind that. Oh my gosh, look how pretty on this cloth. Anyways, I mean, the Oak, Ash, and Thorn is obviously my first love because it was the first deck that the two of them created together. Let's zoom back in. I don't know why I zoomed out when I knew I was going to want to zoom back in. But anyway, obviously, I really love the way that these decks speak to each other. I adore Oak, Ash, and Thorn. I mean, if you want a strong Rider-Waite-Smith themed deck, but with this like nature, animal, lovely. I mean, these decks are November to me. Like they're so autumn. And the cozy vibes, like this is everything. Like these decks, the 3 Trees Tarot decks, like in general, are totally that like cozy up with a cup of tea vibe. Their whole collection is like that. And working with these was so soothing to me in the second week of November. It just felt like my nervous system, knowing I was going to get to work with these, it just like all came down a little, and it was just the best thing ever. I love how the Thistledown Oracle has forest animals, but also dragons, as you saw, because of course, after the first week of November, I moved into the second week of November working with the Smoke, Ash, and Embers. So you can probably see how this went for me. And because of the way that these decks are done, they all just speak to each other so, so beautifully. Now again, Oak, Ash, and Thorn, y'all know this is a big love of mine. I referenced this deck during my Tarot with Training Wheels course. I think it's a really, really, again, very easy to, it's the easiest to use animal deck I've ever had. Like you don't have to stretch anything to understand what the animals, how they're communicating the meaning of the card. And the same thing is true in the dragon deck, the Smoke, Ash, and Embers. And if there's such a thing as a cozy dragon deck, like this is it. It's all, look at this. It's all the cozy vibes. Like, and because they all feel like they exist in the same world, nothing pulls me out of it, mixing and matching the decks. Like they all feel like they kind of exist in the same universe. And part of that's working with the same artist again and again and again, right? And then part of that is just the energy, the vibe, the themes explored, the way that they approach tarot's archetypes. I think they're just so well done. These are decks that are intensely readable. And while I would arguably say that to some degree, they all have a certain, at least the first two, Oak, Ash, and Thorn and Smoke, Ash, and Embers, do have more of a heavy lean into Rider-Waite-Smith, kind of I don't know if what you would expect to see. That's not quite fair. They don't feel like they stray so far afield that you can't follow it, along with the Rider-Waite-Smith. I don't know if that makes sense. Somebody comment below if I make no sense, and I'll try to explain myself, but I feel like they're not difficult to work with. They feel like they communicate the theme of the card effectively. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. And because of that, they feel effortless to work with, but they just pull you into their world. And I just wanted to stay here, like for the whole last month. I just wanted to be in this world. And so this is what I was working with. But I love the expansive keywords on the Thistledown Oracle. It's a wonderful oracle. I have, in fairness, not paired it with any non-3 Trees Tarot decks because I have enough 3 Trees Tarot decks to pair it with that I don't need to make it work anywhere else. And it's just so beautiful with these that I love it. Anyways, absolutely adored working with these. And it's fun for me because oftentimes when I'm working with dragon decks, I'm pulling in a little bit of Peggy energy into my reading practice, which is always really nice as well. But that is the Smoke, Ash, and Embers Tarot. And then for the final week of November, you probably already guessed what I did. I pulled in the Heartwood Tarot by 3 Trees Tarot. And this is their newest one. They are currently working on a Spidey deck. But this one, I would say, is the most out of the box of the 3 decks. If you want a tarot deck that explores the themes of the tarot but goes further afield than Oak, Ash, and Thorn or Smoke, Ash, and Embers, then I think this is definitely the one. It sort of pulls you into this like magical abandoned cottage where this little mouse kind of explores and you meet various characters throughout the cards. And it feels like you could, if you're somebody who likes to use tarot to like write fiction or write stories, this would be a fun one to write stories about it. And even though there's not like a guidebook with story necessarily, that sort of thing. And to be fair, I've actually never read the digital guidebook you can get with this deck, or that you do get with this deck, because I haven't needed to, because this deck just sparks my imagination and I feel the story in every card. It has that narrative feel, even without a narration that accompanies it, if that makes any sense. It feels, again, perfect for this time of year, perfect for late fall, early winter, even like late summer, if you're somebody who likes to work with decks seasonally. And of course, it works so beautifully with the Thistledown, Oracle. And all of these decks have the same card stock feel, the same tactile experience. It's very comfy, it's very matte, and it feels like you expect it to feel. There's nothing jarring about the experience of working with these. They're very soothing to work with. They're very soothing. So just lovely working with all of the Three Trees Tarot things throughout November. I feel like this time of year is always interesting, figuring out what it is that I want to work with, what feels like the energy of the season and the time of year. And I am so glad I gave myself permission to make it mostly about Three Trees Tarot for the month. It was just such a lovely experience. I have zero regrets. And man, they just all spoke so beautifully together. It was so wonderful. It's like I just got to sink into this world for all of November pretty much. And while I kicked off the month with Gentle Tarot, which made such a beautiful transition, these Three Trees Tarot decks just ended up being exactly what I needed in my life. It was perfect. So really kind of focused in on cozy vibes and nourishing vibes for the month of November. And I think those are really strong themes in general for that month, with just a little touch of seasonal energy through a little bit of Samhain energy lingering until I transition into the Yule deck. So that is what I worked with. I'd love to hear what you've been working with. Let me know in the comments down below. What was your favorite thing you worked with in November? Let's share with each other. As always, there will be links to everything I discussed in the comments or in the description box down below. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. As always, an extra big thank you goes out to my Unicorn Fam channel members for all of your support of my work. It means so much. It makes such a difference. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave if you want more content like this. And until next time, may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye.